What up, racer? ItsJerone here, and welcome back to yet another season of Apex Online Racing. The start of our title defense begins today, and as you can see on the screen, quite a couple of returning drivers, and also some new drivers in this league, such as VTRL Guigs. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but that's what we're going for anyways. So the season promises to involve a lot of good action on track, because, well, I would say the top 10 is rather equal on pace based on that time trial we just saw there. And yeah, it's an exciting prospect in terms of a title defense, in order to try and make sure I also win the title here in season 23. Most likely, if I do win the season, it will be my last season in Apex Online Racing. But we'll see, we'll never know what next game provides us and what my decisions will be regarding the new game. So okay, now that that's out of the way, I'll firstly want to say something. I'm not entirely sure whether I'll cover every single race in terms of a video like I've always done over the past 2 seasons. Maybe I'll just upload some full races without any commentary, but I'm not entirely decided on that. Alright, so time to head into quali, and my mediums lap was not great at all. Then my first banker on softs was pretty okay, 26.4. I didn't do that much practice for this race, by the way. I think I spent like an hour and a half, so it's not that much. But we're heading onto our qualifying lap now. So far didn't discuss anything of Sector 1, but I think that was pretty decent. It also says that we're currently purple and we're a 10th up on our delta. So braking for the first hairpin and getting pretty nice traction out of there. Then the most difficult corner on the track, another hairpin. And I think I was a bit too careful there, braked too early. As you can see, I didn't really gain any time on the delta, or in fact I may have lost a little bit of time on the delta as we're passing some traffic, but they got out of the way nicely. So want to hug the inside curb on the left there a little bit, make sure you don't run out too wide for the right hander, also don't touch this curb on the inside. Then braking down to 4th gear, try and get on the power as early as you dare, and I think so far it's been a rather clean lap. And we're on for a low 26, so final corner, make sure you optimize the track. I prefer to go down to 3rd gear for a little bit of extra rotation and opening the DRS, and the lap in the end is good enough for 26.1, which is provisional pole position, and I can confirm it will be pole position. Now what I'm showing you now is the fact that I left enough time to do the in-lap myself, and I thought I would be able to save my tire wear this way. But apparently that's not really the case in this game, because at the race start, or at the start of the formation lap in a couple of seconds, well, I didn't show it, but my tire wear jumped up to 8%, so I'm not entirely sure if that's something new in this game, but I thought you could save your tire wear this way. Apparently that's not the case, but you can see pole position 26.1, then Pasty, a returning driver to this league. In second, Gabs, returning driver. Bankai, basically the whole top 6 is a returning driver. No Mercy was the F2 champ last season. So yeah, I would say pretty good qualifying here, and looking forward to get the first race of this season underway. For the strategy, it's an interesting one, because you can either do soft medium or soft hard, or perhaps even a 2-stop, which I didn't experiment with in my practice at all, but I do believe the 1-stop is the quicker way to go. I was planning on doing a soft medium, pitting on lap 9 ideally, but it also depends on the situation. You might want to undercut and go a lap earlier. But you can see the red lights are coming on. It's 5 red lights, and away we go for Apex Online Racing Season 23, and we get an average start, I would say. Bankai, as usual, with an insane start on his pad. Like, I'm pretty sure he's the best starter on this game I've come across. It's just insane. But we're clear heading into, well, 3rd corner, sort of. And we do manage to stay ahead of Pasty. So, a solid start, I would say. But you can see yellow flags are being waved now. Pedro is out of the race, and there's been an incident on track. Now, something I didn't even mention, by the way, as you can probably tell, we're in the Red Bull for this season, and I thought, well, since Max won the championship in his Red Bull, I'm just gonna go for a Red Bull as well. I quite like it actually in Cockpit cam, so I usually didn't really like if there's anything, let's say, blocking the vision in Cockpit cam, but I think this Red Bull is actually still quite decent, so yeah, looking forward to driving in this Red Bull. I have the same teammate as last year, by the way, and we're currently looking at the incident that happened. You can see Crow thought he had space on the right hand side, but clearly there was no space, and Pedro was wrong place at the wrong time, and unfortunately he got put into the wall. So a bit unfortunate there for Pedro with starting the season off with an early DNF. Yeah, not much he could do about that, of course. Now we're skipping on to lap 5, and you can see the pack has been split up quite a bit. Like, we have a couple of groups of 2 or 3 on the minimap, and then there's essentially the whole alternative strategy group all together. So that whole alternative strategy group fought really hard on the opening laps, so they've already lost quite a bit of time, as we're currently heading on to lap 8, and Bankai is the first to pit, as our tire wear is now 47%, so I've done pretty well in this opening stint, I think, regarding my tire management, and I could quite easily pit at the end of lap 9 here. So we're gonna stick to the original plan and pit on the end of lap 9. So let's see, is anybody else coming in? Pasty is still following me, and then behind it's my teammate coming into the pit lane, and perhaps some others as well, not entirely sure. Gweeks made his way up from P9 to P3 in this race, and he actually looks to be on a similar pace as us in the top 2 here, so we're gonna make sure we slow the car down properly, not like in Zandvoort where we sped by 1 km/h. Let's not do that again. Gweeks actually decides to continue, so he will be the last soft runner in this race. It's actually No Mercy continues as well, but let's see, where are we gonna come out? Where's this alternative strategy runner group? And you can see we emerge relatively close behind them, and that's just because that whole pack had split out so much on those opening laps. So we're not even that far off, as you can see behind Pasty and the Ferrari of Hasnain. Not entirely sure if I pronounced that right, but Pasty definitely had a bit more trouble rejoining the track than I did, so he lost a bit of time there, but he immediately clawed that time back after the pit stop, and that's because we're catching up to alternative strategy runners now on older tires. So in theory it means we should be able to get past relatively easy, but they're all in a DRS train, of course, so it won't be that easy. And I also didn't use that much ERS on the opening laps here, or the first couple of laps after my stint. So currently I have quite a bit of battery and looking to make a move down the inside of this Mercedes. It's a little bit half-hearted actually looking back on this, but I did warrant enough space, and you can see we put him offline, and now we can get him on the run into turn 4. Make sure we don't outbrake ourselves. That was actually relatively close, but just about in time, and we do manage to get the move on this Mercedes done. Now what's really important here is to try and build a gap between myself and Pasty. I always want to have a car in between myself and Pasty, as Pasty is now going for the dive into this first hairpin, and he manages to get the move done on Chawan as well. As in the meanwhile we're now stuck behind this Haas car in the middle sector. Couldn't do much there, so I had to get off the throttle in order to make sure I wouldn't be too close to him in the braking zone. Used a bit of ERS on this exit here, but this Haas was actually pretty fast as well. Bit of a concerning radio message, I'm not sure if you actually heard it, I believe I left it in. But in qualifying Jeff told me we were 19th in the speed trap, so that's not a great sign. I was not expecting that with 6.9 wings, but apparently we are the slowest. So we get a really nice sort of switchback move. We took a late apex and managed to carry more speed with our fresh tires. So we get the move done on the Haas car, and undoubtedly Pasty wants to follow that immediately. In the meanwhile, I'm also gonna keep my ERS on, make sure I get past the Alpine car of Sneaky Ninja, who's still teammates with Bankai. They switched from Ferrari to Alpine this season, and I do manage to get the move done on Sneaky. Meanwhile also Pasty managed to get the move done on the Haas car, but now you can see Pasty spun, and I'm pretty sure he spun on his own there, a bit too eager on the throttle. He may have got some dirty air from Sneaky Ninja, but it does mean that my nearest contender in the race at the moment is now out of the races. In the background you can see my Red Bull teammate currently in a net P3, stuck behind, not entirely sure who that was anymore. Anyways, it means my nearest my nearest contender for this race is, well, he's not out of this race, but he's dropped quite a couple of positions. So I was about to overtake Iceman there, but he decided he didn't want to be overtaken and probably went on to a set of hearts for the final part of this race. So you can see now the only alternative strategy runner in front of us who had broken away from the whole pack, or well, his pack essentially, and that was my title rival from last year, Solid Ninja. So did manage to just about sneak within DRS range at the end of the lap there. And you can now see that currently I have nearly a 4-second gap to Gabs and my teammate Ralph, and Gweeks behind on his 1 lap fresher tires than me is currently 5.5 seconds behind. So we do have quite a sizable gap here to work with, so I don't necessarily need to overtake Solid immediately, and I decided to just sit back a little bit. I was not sure if I was going to make it on fuel, so I just decided to sit back a little bit, recharge the ERS and see if I could go for a move in the middle sector here. But once again, I think this is down to apparently my slow straight line speed here. I'm just not really closing in on Solid, so I didn't want to risk it here. No real reason to go for it here, as I felt like I was a little bit too far, and we have a sizable gap to Gaps, so I just decided to wait for the main straight. As heading on to lap 18 we do manage to pass Solid Ninja, and maybe he can stay in my DRS for a little bit, but his tires are very old as well, so quite clearly he's going for a medium soft as well. And in the end the gap to Gaps, well, shrinked a little bit by staying behind Solid Ninja for a lap, but in the end it didn't really matter too much, as we're now heading on to lap 20. And something I have to say as well, I was quite tired during this race, because the night before I went to bed at like 4 AM or something, so oddly enough the most difficult part were these last 10 laps, where I had my lead, but I had to just make sure I kept driving well. And you could just see a couple of mistakes sneaking in here, you know, just turning in too early, braking a bit too late, just those little minor mistakes. But in the meanwhile we didn't make any significant mistakes, and let's actually see Gap's perspective of the final lap of the race, as Gweeks is quite close behind him and he's looking to put pressure on Gaps, who is on 2 lap older tires. So you can see into turn 4, and oh no, they make a bit of contact and they're both off, but Gaps has been put into the wall there and he has a bit of front wing damage. Now oddly enough you can see that's my Red Bull there, standing on the side of the track. Did I have a wheel issue? Did anything happen? No, not what I'm aware of. I just kept driving normally, and maybe my internet was being dodgy here, but I didn't feel like my internet was dodgy at all this race, so I don't know really. Maybe it's a game glitch, I honestly don't know, but as you can see on the minimap we just got going again, and well, we just won the race here, as you can see. But Gaps of course was having a very interesting battle here with a broken front wing, and Gweeks managed to continue better after that crash. Pasty managed to overtake them both, so Pasty in the end came across the line on the 2nd place. As you can see, we just got a very significant gap due to that last lap incident there. Really happy with my race in the end. I do think I drove relatively well, besides those issues with a little bit of fatigue there at the end. But overall I think I managed to race well, managed to keep it clean whilst overtaking the alternative strategy runners, and this is, I would say, the best possible start in terms of a title defense. So really happy with how I performed today. Pasty probably a deserved 2nd in this race. Then it's Gweeks in 3rd, Gaps in 4th, although there's still a steward inquiry going on about those two, but in my opinion it's a racing incident. I'm not a steward, so I can't decide on that. No Mercy in P5, Bank IP6, Solid, the first alternative strategy runner, in P7. And yeah, that makes us come to the end of this video. Now, if you did enjoy this video and if you want to see more Apex Online Racing, League Racing content, then make sure you subscribe to the channel. As I mentioned, I'm not entirely sure whether I'll do commentary on every video, but if you don't want to miss anything, subscribing is the best way. So, I'll see you for the next video.